Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
But now someone with a sharp set of eyes has noticed perhaps a mistruth in the Oprah interview. Here it is.
She has a blanket that sits across her knees for warmth, and it was chilly. And she was like, Meghan, come on, and put it over my knees as well.
What if the most powerful woman in media is secretly haunted by one interview and one name? Imagine Oprah Winfrey, the queen of television, the woman who can read people in seconds, the woman who built an empire by exposing truth, now carrying the weight of a career-defining mistake she can't undo. But this wasn't some public apology. No stage, no headline, no carefully worded statement. And behind closed doors, Oprah allegedly let one sentence slip out about Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. I should have never trusted her. And that one line didn't stay private. It didn't stay quiet. It spread like wildfire and triggered a Hollywood fallout nobody saw coming.
So this was Meghan's very first outing with the Queen. It happened right after her wedding to Prince Harry, and it was obviously extremely important and a significant occasion because it was her first outing.
Tonight, we're exposing what Oprah has kept buried for nearly 3 years, and why Meghan Markle's Hollywood image may now be collapsing in real time. For nearly 3 years, Oprah stayed completely silent about Meghan Markle. No red carpet comments, no interviews, no subtle defenses, not even casual insider remarks where Hollywood usually leaks everything. And that silence spoke louder than any headline. Because Oprah didn't just interview Meghan, she welcomed her into her Montecito world and handed her the biggest platform on earth, with zero limits, no time pressure, no real pushback, no hard interrogation, no tough follow-up questions.
Do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could see what
Meghan cried, Meghan accused, Meghan rewrote the entire royal narrative in front of millions. And Oprah let it all play out. At the time, the world called it historic, a cultural moment, a royal earthquake, the interview that changed everything. But behind Oprah's calm smile, cracks were already forming. Even back then, insiders whispered Oprah could feel something wasn't lining up, something wasn't clean, something wasn't adding up. And now, with new revelations surfacing, we finally understand why Oprah pulled away, and why those early cracks have now blown wide open. According to producers tied to that infamous special, Oprah's doubts started almost immediately after filming ended. She thought she was giving Meghan and Harry a space to share their truth.
She told a story later in her Oprah Winfrey interview in 2021 where she talked about the moment that the Queen was more like a grandma to her because she saw that Meghan may have been cold and put a blanket over her legs as well. And it was it's a small detail and it's a smallish story, but it had significance because it showed the relationship that Meghan had with the Queen.
But what she allegedly witnessed off camera rattled her in a way nobody expected. A former Harpo assistant later claimed Oprah told her inner circle just days after the broadcast aired, "This wasn't journalism. This was PR. I handed them the mics, and they used it to control the story." Not long after, fact-checkers started pulling at loose threads. Inconsistencies surfaced. Timelines didn't match. Details didn't align. Then palace aides quietly leaked receipts that complicated the story even more. Public opinion started swinging violently, back and forth. But Oprah said nothing. And that silence wasn't random. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was strategic. Because Oprah doesn't go quiet unless she knows something serious is wrong. And that something started building the moment the camera stopped rolling. You might think that's where it ends. Oprah regrets the interview and moves on. But that's not even close. Because what happened next proves this wasn't just another Meghan controversy. This time, it hit Oprah personally. And what she allegedly discovered behind the scenes could completely change how you see that interview forever. Most viewers missed it, but Oprah didn't.
To be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
What?
That night, there were tiny shifts, small hesitations, longer pauses, moments where Oprah's face didn't look convinced. And insiders now claim those weren't dramatic, respectful pauses. They were Oprah's doubt showing in real time, and it all traces back to one scene that looked harmless to the audience. Meghan's chickens, the rustic coop, the cute fencing, the little sign that read Archie's Chickens. Freshly painted, picture perfect, almost too perfect. Because according to reports, that charming little moment was actually the first thing that made Oprah question everything. A former CBS affiliate editor claimed Oprah watched the final cut 2 days before it aired, the first time she sat in silence.
What has been noticed now from that clip is you can actually see from sort of a more of a bird's eye view the Queen with the blanket on her legs in the car on that day. And it's a little difficult to make out very clearly, but it does look like the Queen only put the blanket on her own lap. And again, it seems like a small detail, but it does speak to the relationship.
The second time, she allegedly looked at a producer and muttered, "This won't age well." And here's the twist. It wasn't the racism claims or the royal drama that unsettled her most. It was the chicken coop scene. Because Oprah immediately understood what that setup was designed to do. It wasn't random. It wasn't natural. It was branding. It was designed to make Meghan and Harry look relatable, warm, wholesome, down to earth. But when Oprah later learned the entire setup had been installed only a week earlier, the fence refreshed, the coop repainted, the illusion suddenly felt staged. And that's when Oprah allegedly said the line that changed everything. They don't want transparency, they want control. And that was the first real crack. But honestly, that wasn't even the most shocking part. Because what happened after filming wrapped is what truly rattled Oprah. A senior Harpo assistant claimed that as the crew packed up and the lights dimmed, Meghan quietly approached a staff member. Not to thank them, not to show gratitude, but to make a request that instantly raised red flags. "Just make sure I get a look at the final edit. Oprah will understand." The assistant was reportedly stunned and passed the message straight to the executive producer, who then informed Oprah. And Oprah's response came fast, cold, and decisive. "Absolutely not. This is my platform, not Buckingham's and not Meghan's." No guest, not even presidents or world leaders, had ever dared to ask Oprah for editorial control. But the request didn't stop. Later that evening, an intermediary allegedly followed up again on Meghan's behalf, asking that the framing align with what Meghan called her truth. And that phrase reportedly irritated Oprah more than any tabloid story ever could. Because Oprah built her entire career on raw authenticity, conversations that cut through fake PR. And now suddenly, this once-in-a-lifetime interview was being treated like a controlled media project, something that could be edited, shaped, managed, and spun. From that moment, insiders claim Oprah's trust started collapsing, and she began quietly pulling away from Meghan. Then another moment hit, and this time it came from someone Oprah trusts completely. Just days after the interview aired, while social media was exploding, Oprah reportedly received a text from Gayle King. At first, Gayle wrote something simple, but chilling. "You weren't the only one. She worked everyone. Just wait." Oprah assumed she meant producers or executives. But then Gayle clarified. Meghan had pitched her the exact same idea, almost word for word. A documentary-style redemption story, a 3-part narrative, motherhood, philanthropy, reinvention after royal life. And here's what made it sting even more. Sources claim Meghan had originally pitched that concept to Oprah first. Oprah reportedly felt blindsided. "I thought I was helping her tell her story," she allegedly told her inner circle. But she was helping herself build a brand. And then that's when Oprah's regret reportedly turned personal. This wasn't just a professional mistake. This felt like betrayal. And if you think that was the worst part, it gets darker. Because what Oprah discovered next didn't just shock her as a journalist. It hit like a friend, realizing they'd been played. The final blow reportedly came from inside Meghan's own circle, an unnamed stylist who worked closely with Meghan during the final wardrobe fitting for the interview. Allegedly came forward with details that were quiet, but devastating. This wasn't someone chasing attention. No podcast tour, no book deal, no look at me interviews. The stylist reportedly didn't even want their name public. But what they shared, allegedly through Vanity Fair sources, hit Oprah hard. According to the stylist, Meghan was warm and charming on camera. But once filming ended, her entire energy shifted. She allegedly spoke about the interview like it was a calculated business move. Oprah gives credibility, I give the story. That's the trade. And then came the detail that reportedly destroyed Oprah's trust completely. The stylist claimed Meghan laughed and said, "All I had to do was pause and look sad. Oprah would fill the silence." And for Oprah, a woman who built her empire by creating safe spaces for honesty, that revelation reportedly cut deeper than any criticism because it meant something terrifying. She didn't just interview Meghan. She may have been used. But the story doesn't stop there, because someone close to Prince Harry had allegedly tried to warn Oprah before the interview even happened. About 3 weeks before filming, Oprah allegedly received a private message, not from gossip blogs, not from palace staff, but from someone inside Harry's inner circle, someone known for staying far away from the spotlight. The message was short, polite, but chilling. Please tread carefully. Meghan's truth is not the truth. You deserve to know that before you film. At the time, Oprah dismissed it. She had prepared, researched, and she wasn't about to cancel what would become one of the biggest interviews of the decade over a vague warning. But after the stylist's claims, and after Gail's messages, Oprah reportedly admitted something privately to her closest team. I should have asked more questions. I didn't want a takedown, but that's exactly what I enabled. And that realization reportedly changed everything. What started as regret turned into something heavier, disillusionment. And this is where the situation escalates even more. Because while Oprah was still processing everything, one final piece of information reached her, and it allegedly sealed Meghan's fate. After the interview aired, Meghan's team reportedly began exploring a second major tell-all, another platform, another round of headlines, another dramatic truth bomb. But here's the detail that reportedly stung Oprah the most. Sources claim the pitch included the phrase, "Oprah wasn't enough." That sentence allegedly hit Oprah like a slap, because it meant she wasn't a trusted interviewer. She was a stepping stone, a launch pad, a tool Meghan used to build momentum for the next chapter of her public image. And that's when Oprah reportedly made the call. Just after 6 p.m. one evening, Oprah Winfrey allegedly picked up the phone. She didn't call Meghan. She didn't call Harry. She called her executive producer. And according to insiders, her voice was calm, but ice cold. "I want it on the record. No more Meghan, no more Harry. We're done." When asked what changed, Oprah allegedly replied, "I opened my platform in good faith. What they brought wasn't transparency. It was a performance." From that moment forward, everything shifted. Not just for Oprah, but for Meghan Markle's standing in Hollywood. And what came next didn't arrive through screaming headlines. It came through something far worse in the entertainment industry: silence. Invitations stopped. Calls went unanswered. Publicists suddenly became busy. Producers who once praised Meghan started avoiding her team completely. One insider at a major streaming platform allegedly said it bluntly, "If Oprah's out, we're out. It's not worth the risk." To Hollywood, the same industry that once celebrated Meghan as modern royalty, didn't attack her. They did something more brutal. They ignored her. Because when Oprah signals a loss of trust, Hollywood listens, and Hollywood never forgets. But the moment that truly shattered Meghan's image allegedly happened weeks later at a high-profile charity gala. Meghan walked in expecting cameras, smiles, VIP treatment. She moved confidently through the room, like she still owned the spotlight. But what happened next reportedly stunned her. 3 A-list actresses, former acquaintances, allegedly turned away when she approached. One reportedly whispered to an assistant, "Tell her I'm not available for photos tonight." Then came the moment insiders say hit hardest. Meghan sat down and noticed an empty chair beside her. That seat was reserved for Viola Davis. But Viola never showed up. According to sources, Viola quietly requested to be moved the moment she learned she would be seated next to Meghan. Meghan reportedly understood the message instantly. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were decisions. They were reputations being written behind closed doors. And that gala wasn't just awkward. It was the beginning of a bigger unraveling. In the weeks after, Meghan allegedly tried everything to regain control: quiet messages to mutual friends, carefully worded outreach through publicists, indirect attempts to reconnect with Oprah's circle. But insiders claim the response was always the same: silence. Then one final message reportedly reached her through a mutual contact. Short, cold, brutal. Trust, once broken, doesn't get airtime. That sentence reportedly landed harder than any tabloid headline ever could, because the real damage wasn't public criticism. Meghan had survived that before. The real damage was being cut off from the network she thought she had mastered. An industry that once painted her as a survivor now reportedly viewed her as something else, a strategist who pushed too far and burned the wrong bridge. And that's when reality hit her hardest. The influence she believed she had wasn't real. Hollywood relationships aren't built on talent alone. They're built on trust and alliances. And once those alliances crack, the fall feels sudden and brutal. Sources claim Meghan leaned harder on her inner circle, especially Prince Harry trying to regroup. But even inside their own professional teams, tension reportedly grew. One former consultant described the atmosphere as constant damage control, meetings no longer focused on opportunities, but on survival. Meanwhile, Oprah stayed completely silent. No interviews, no clarifications, no defense. And in Hollywood, silence is not neutral. Silence is a message. One industry executive allegedly said, "When Oprah steps back, people read between the lines. Nobody wants to be on the wrong side of that." And then came the slow collapse. Deals that once felt guaranteed started vanishing. Meetings were postponed. Contracts stalled. Excitement cooled. Not dramatic enough for headlines, but enough for insiders to recognize a pattern. Because Meghan believed she had done what modern media rewards: tell your story, build your brand, dominate the narrative. But what she underestimated was how fast perception flips when powerful people feel manipulated. Hollywood loves reinvention, but it hates uncertainty. One insider claimed Meghan privately complained, "I thought people wanted honesty. I gave them honesty." But the problem wasn't the story. The problem was the control, the strategy, the way it all felt staged. And that difference changed everything. By this point, it wasn't just an interview fallout. It was a reputation shift. The kind that spreads quietly through private texts, whispered conversations, and closed-door meetings. And once Hollywood decides you're a risk, that label sticks. And Meghan reportedly didn't even realize yet that an even bigger storm was forming, one that would test her entire strategy moving forward. The fallout from Oprah's quiet but decisive break didn't stay personal. It reshaped how the entertainment industry viewed Meghan Markle entirely. What once looked like an unstoppable rise, palace life to podcast deals, royal exit to Montecito power player, suddenly started slowing down hard. And the scariest part? It wasn't driven by scandal. It was driven by something Hollywood fears more than anything: irrelevance. PR firms that once competed to represent Meghan reportedly started stepping back. Studios stopped scheduling meetings. Streaming platforms placed proposals on hold. And insiders kept pointing to one simple truth: when Oprah pulls away, the industry follows. Hollywood doesn't follow trends. Hollywood follows power. And Oprah's distance sent a clear signal: trust had shifted. And once trust shifts in Hollywood, momentum dies fast. For Meghan, the damage went deeper than anyone realized. She had faced criticism before: headlines, hate comments, royal speculation. But this was different. This was quiet rejection. The kind that shows up as unanswered emails, postponed meetings, and projects that disappear without explanation. And that kind of rejection is impossible to fight because there's nothing to respond to. Even supporters who once defended her loudly reportedly became cautious. Because in certain circles, Meghan was now being described as difficult behind the scenes, or worse, strategic. Sources claim Meghan tried to stabilize the damage, outreach through mutual contacts, new ideas pitched quietly, even positive remarks about Oprah. But nothing changed. Every attempt reportedly hit the same wall. Distance, silence, no engagement. And here's what most people missed. This wasn't only about Meghan. This was about Hollywood's unwritten rules. Because when you lose alignment with someone like Oprah Winfrey, one of the most trusted gatekeepers in media, her silence becomes a verdict. And in entertainment circles, when people believe Oprah said, "I should have never trusted her," that doesn't just become gossip. It becomes a warning label. Meghan Markle wasn't facing exile in the traditional sense. She wasn't facing one big scandal that could be fixed. She was facing something far worse in Hollywood: fading influence. And in this industry, influence is everything. So as Meghan reportedly enters this new chapter, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. In a world built on relationships, perception, and trust, one broken connection can quietly slam doors that once seemed permanently open. Now, I want to know what you think. Did Oprah really feel played, or was this inevitable from the start? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this breakdown changed how you see that interview, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Like the video and share it with someone who needs to see what's really happening.